Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another exciting discussion, Minecraft discussion. We talk about all things, well-being oriented. My name is Dr. Kimberly Quinn, and it is my role, my pleasure, my thrill to help people become the boss of their brains, because thoughts come first and feelings come second. We know that to be true, and all right, today we are going to discuss, we're going to do another one on ADHD, or the Fast Mind Club, because it's been a while. So I'll say ADHD just to get the general public, sort of noticing and joining us. But we want to rename that because there's no part of it is a deficit. That's for damn sure. I know that to be true. So before I go another inch, even though this is mostly me, I did read an article by Judith Sinclair of ADDitude magazine. I really like that magazine, actually. But I read it a little bit. I'm like, oh my God, I want to have lunch with her. How does she, I felt like, and I have to tell you this too, and then I got to get up. I don't sit very well, but it is so nice out today. Because I'm in the biz, and also because, I live it every day, it's not all that common that I read something new, really. Sometimes it's something that's older but has a new twist sometimes, but it's not usually, new. And not that this is super new either, but I guess I'll get to it in a second. All right, so she's talking about sensory weirdness. And gosh, I've had sensory weirdness for, ever, as long as I can really remember. And so we're kind of used to, here I go, it was enough sitting, probably last me a week. We're used to people, we're kind of known for, those of us in the Fast Mind Club, for, not really liking to wait in line. It's definitely true. I know for me, I just, think of my very valuable life minutes just, slipping away, never to come back again. I still work on interrupting people. I'm gotten pretty good at it, but the truth is I love people. And I love to engage with them, and so conversations excite me most of the time, and much of the time, and I get excited, and that's just part of it. And let me see, what else? We're pretty much, what we're all known for, and we can annoy people for sure. But really, what I also want to say here is the people chewing thing. Oh my God, it drives us freaking crazy. But I'll tell you first, before I get into what's current, back when I was an undergrad at St. Mike's, back when the ferns covered the earth and raptors were circling, scooping up, people and having them for lunch, and glaciers were shifting and that sort of thing, when I was 18 years old, and having a grand old time there too, party central. I have to tell you, this is before anybody got extra help, at least that I knew. People just didn't back then. Especially if you're a girl with ADHD. If you weren't Dennis the Menace with a slingshot in your pocket, you got nothing. But anyway, 504s and IEP plans and all that stuff, and special accommodations, none of that existed. At least I don't think it did. But I can't even imagine if I had a quiet room. I feel like I could have moved mountains or something, or done something built bridges, or who knows, who cares? I end up my calling, doesn't matter anymore. However, I will tell you that when I was sitting in classrooms, oh my God, the pencil tappers. Oh my God, I can't, tap, tap, tap. I used to have to hold my ears because I just, I could not stand it. Worse than the pencil tappers, because you think, what could be worse than a pencil tapper? Well, I will tell you, snifflers. Snifflers are worse than pencil tappers. If here's pencil tappers, here's snifflers. They're horrible. And Judith talks about it in there too. And I could really, just like her, fantasize about some rogue asteroid landing on that kid sniffling. Get a frickin' Kleenex, And then there's the frequent exiters to in, out, in, out, in, out. Just sit down. I know, coming from me, it's a little ironic, but if you're taking a test, shut the frig up, Sit, don't sniffle, stop tapping, just take this stupid quiz, man. It was just so hard. It was so hard. And when you're trying to do this writing, okay, so that's already annoying, but to do that each time, you're going from here to writing, For the fast minder, there's also some regroup minutes in there too, because we couldn't just go from like plug to write and have it be super smooth. It was just a pain in the ass, and made things like difficult to focus and things like that. So that's what I was thinking about early on, and I think the chewing thing has always bothered me. And I don't usually like to use the word always. However, I can't remember it not bothering me. So, and I couldn't help thinking, like, didn't your parents, or for me it was my grandmother, like, didn't somebody teach you not to chew with your mouth open? Like, how did you get out of preschool able to do that? I don't know. To me it reminds me like a washing machine. It just goes around and around, and part of me just wants to take like both hands and just go, and just like, or maybe up here and here, it's hard to do with them holding the phone, but just like reach across the table and like shut your freaking mouth when you're chewing. And then we have the loud, very loud potato chip bag crinklers. They're annoying. Then we have the gum smackers, not Bubbles. Bubbles actually didn't really ever irritate me. It's the ones that kind of do the clicking in their cheeks. I'm not a huge fan of gum chewing anyway. I just isn't a good look. I don't like it. But outside of that, I think it's just that clicking thing that people do is like pretty annoying. So then there's actually a word for this. One of my kids was talking about this like last year. It's misophonia. So it is a thing, and basically, well, I don't know what the actual definition is, but I'll just tell you what it means for me. To absolutely be tortured to death, like worse than bamboo under the fingernails. Not that I've ever had that happen, but I think this has got to be worse. Worse than walking all over hot coals, also something I've never done. But the chewing thing and slurping it just a noise that goes right through me to my bone marrow. I will tell you that right now. So misophonia is being tormented by sounds. Tormented, like you're on a rack. 3 is a charm. I've also never been on a rack. I'm using examples I've never done, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but you get the idea, right? And so she actually talks about in there about how much she loves her husband. She said, except when he's eating a juicy pear. And I get it, because I could just like feel it, that thing, and again, you just want to like whap, and she said she would picture just a rogue asteroid landing on them both, because who can stand it? Not this kid. I can't either. And so she just kind of like leaves the room. So this also had me thinking of, there was an I Love Lucy episode, which is one of my favorites, probably one of my favorite sitcom ever, calling it that, sitcom ever. And there was one episode which the whole thing was like old married couples getting, annoyed with these little things. And it was the 4 of them. It was Lucy and Ricky and Fred and Ethel. And the whole episode was about this. And then all of a sudden, they're like doing things that annoy each other. I forget which one was stirring. Somebody was stirring a teacup, and that clicking against the side bothered them. Somebody was doing something else, and somebody was doing something else. And they ended up like taking a vacation from each other. So like the women went off and the men went off. And it was really, really, really funny that these little tiny insignificant things were bothering them. So my husband and I have been married for like 1,000 years. So that could play a role too, except for that this all bothered me back when I was 18, so I'm thinking it's not that different. And he does this thing with his nose. If his family, anyone in his family is watching this, are going to totally know. Because he does this like hook thing with his nose and makes this really weird rubbery sound. And I absolutely can't stand it. It's probably the worst sound ever. If chewing was the worst sound ever, and that's like stabbing me with like needles in my toes, but the rubbery nose hook thing, it's got to be the absolute worst. So then, so in addition to the sounds, Judith talks about the other sensory things. So there's hugging. That is not one for me, honestly. I actually love hugs, but we're all different. And I will tell you though, we have our oldest daughter's on the spectrum. She prefers Aspie or autistics. But so we've been kind of very consent-based. I mean, you can't go wrong with consent in general anyway, right? But we've been kind of consent-based with the hugs from the beginning, but that's just not one that bothered me. So this is the part that wasn't new, but a little bit new. She wrote about makeup, and like, I don't do makeup. The very thought of makeup, I went through it as a teenage girl. I think most of us did, especially back in the day, conforming, you're 15, 16, whatever. But she doesn't wear makeup, and she's talking about all the patience and the blending. I haven't had it on for like literally decades, so it's, but like the blending with foundation and the blend and the patience, and talked about probably stabbing your eye with mascara and all that stuff because it takes so much, you know, patience, I guess. That's it. That's definitely it. It's too much time, and I think of valuable life minutes just slipping right out of my grip. But I also cannot stand the feeling of it. I cannot stand it. The feeling of makeup. I feel like I can't breathe or something. It's like claustrophobic. And also, I don't like the feeling of any kind of lotion, which in northern Vermont, when we heat only with wood, I basically turn into like a Gila monster, or a, I think of something cooler than that. I don't know. Bearded dragon, maybe. They're pretty scaly. Anyway, that's what I turn into in the winter because I absolutely can't stand it. I'd rather have dry skin and itch than have lotion on. So with my cheap Irish skin, I had to, in a couple of spots taken off, I was kind of forced to use it at times because of that. But it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. It's terrible. Okay, and then lastly is TV and movies. And this also goes into relaxation shaming, because I've had enough of that in my life. Sit down, relax. Does anyone feel relaxed when somebody says relax or calm down? And they're usually yelling it. Think about how much sense that makes. Calm down. Do you feel calm? Like, you know what I mean? It's pretty stupid. So this, some people even think it's a little bit of a gift to ADHD, I guess. But the TV is on a lot because my husband, and I honestly, thankfully we have 2 floors, so if he really wants to go watch a show, he can also do that downstairs. But I feel overstimulated, most of the time, which is also why I don't listen to the radio in my Jeep unless it's been a particularly understimulating day, and then I'll, bounce to Aretha Franklin or something, which is really cool. But most of the time, I don't listen to the radio in the car, and I don't watch that much TV. And the movie theater, like the actual movie theater, is pure torture. So I haven't done that in a really long time. Actually, once, which was actually recent. But other than that, it's been, I can't even tell you. Maybe the Harry Potters way back when. I don't know. But my husband and I were in Claremont, New Hampshire, just to go see Aretha. And the reason that worked is we had the theater to ourselves. There was one older couple, way older couple, sitting like in the middle. They were very adorable. And that's it. And I kind of got through it, but it's a lot of sitting, it's a lot of crinkling, it's a lot of chewing, and it's popcorn chewing, which on the scale of chewing is like the worst. And so, yeah. So I would say that the key here is really, for all of you who love us, have us in your life, the Fast Mind Club, the key is patience, which we don't have, so we're glad you do. And also, empathy. Empathy, give us some slack. We obviously aren't about controlling our atmosphere and world. No one can do that. But if there's any way to kind of not do some of that stuff, or not kind of push us into sitting on the couch for a 3-hour documentary, which I'd rather have 7 consecutive root canals than do, just to think about some of this stuff. So I think that's really it. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.